AVC Vinyl Tag 2022. My vinyl tag is going to be a combination of questions from StuntRock Confusion and Rob Walker. And so let's get into it. The first album purchased in 2021 was this one, the Saxophone Colossus. This is the Analog Productions version that was out of print at the time. I picked this up January 5th of 2021, replacing my Japanese import copy. The last album purchased in 2021, one of my favorite vocalists, the late Abbey Lincoln. This is You Gotta Pay the Band featuring Stan Getz. This was the album that started the last phase of her career, beginning in the 90s on Verve Records. Excellent recording. This was reissued this year. 2 LPs. Abbey Lincoln, You Gotta Pay the Band. My favorite album of 2021, James Brandon Lewis, the Jessup Wagon. It's the Red Lily Quintet. Favorite album of the year. An album by the first group you saw live, that would be War, and I believe 1985, Camp Pendleton, California. Wasn't the all the original members, but it was enough of the original members where they retained that War sound. First group I saw live, War. A concept album. I'm gonna go with this one. Tom Waits, Frank's Wild Years. It's about dreams, failure, and the fact that you cannot return home. The only time I was able to see Tom Waits live was when he was touring in support of this album. I saw him on Broadway. It was either at the Gershwin Theater or the Richard Rodgers Theater. But it was an excellent performance. Concept album, Tom Waits, Frank's Wild Years. An album with at least 8 people on the cover. Gonna go with the Earth, Wind & Fire classic, That's the Way of the World. 9 people on the cover. This is the Impex edition. Earth, Wind & Fire, That's the Way of the World. An artist that you discovered in 2021. I'm gonna go with the late Justin Townes Earl. This is The Kids in the Street, and this one is The Saint of Lost Causes. And these are the 2 LPs that are readily available of his on New West Records. They are his last 2 releases, this being the last release. This is Justin Townes Earl, Steve Earle's son. He was a great songwriter, really good at character studies. So an artist I discovered in 2021, the late Justin Townes Earl. And a box set. I'm gonna go with this one here. Art Pepper, Promises Kept, the Artist House Recordings, 4 LPs. He plays with Ron Carter, Al Foster, Hank Jones, Billy Higgins, Charlie Hayden. The 4 excellent LPs, Art Pepper. If you're interested in Art Pepper's life story, I'd highly recommend this, I guess you say, autobiography written with his wife, Lori Pepper. This is one of the great jazz autobiographies out there, Art Pepper, Straight Life. And his wife, Lori, who's still alive and was involved in producing this box set, so she came out with this book, Art, Why I Stuck with a Junkie Jazz Man. This is supposed to be really good. I have not read it yet, I just recently got it, but it's supposed to be really good. In spite of the sensationalist title, yeah, so I'm looking forward to eventually getting to read this. Art Pepper. And the next question, the most anticipated album of 2022. There are two for me, but the first one is one that was supposed to be released in 2021, but due to pandemic related delays, the vinyl is not going to be here until February. And that would be this one right here by the group Artifacts. It's a trio of Tameka Reed, Nicole Mitchell, Tameka Reed on cello, Nicole Mitchell on flute, and the drummer Mike Reed. And the title is And Then There's This. It's on Astral Spirits. They have a previous release out, but that's only available through streaming services. It's out on CD, but good luck finding a CD copy. And so I'm really looking forward to getting the vinyl copy of that, and then I can pass the CD along to one of my friends. And another anticipated recording is by the alto saxophone player Emmanuel Wilkins on Blue Note, that comes out late this month. And I know Blue Note has put out a video for that I will link down below. Emmanuel Wilkins on Blue Note. And the next question is a non-music record purchase. So basically, I'm gonna go with two books. This one right here, and it's called Liner Notes. The title is Liner Notes for the Revolution, and it's by Daphne A. Brooks, and the intellectual life of Black feminist sound. I guess I'm still in the introduction, and I was looking forward to this when I heard it, but I've already got it highlighted. You might be familiar with Daphne Brooks if you purchase the new reissue of Nina Simone's Little Girl Blue, the one that was remastered by Kevin Gray. It is just came out not too long ago, last year, but Daphne A. Brooks wrote the liner notes for that reissue. And if you go to the Pitchfork website, there's a real excellent essay she wrote on Prince's controversy some time back. And another non-record purchase is this book here, Black Ivy, A Revolt in Style. It's a clothing related book, but it features, a lot of jazz musicians. Of course, Miles, there's Bobby Hutcherson, Grant Green, Eric Dolphy, and even Billy Strayhorn in seersucker suit. So, Black Ivy, A Revolt in Style. Colored vinyl purchase. I'm gonna go with something I got not too long ago from Vinyl Me Please, and it's a reissue of the classic Meters album, Rejuvenation. This is the one that contains, Hey Pocky Way. I've played this album about 5 times since I received it. It's just, of course, it's an excellent album that's known, but the remastering by Ryan K. Smith is well done. My vinyl is quiet, and yes, there it is. There's your colored vinyl. So the Meters, Vinyl Me Please reissue of Rejuvenation. An album from 1982. I'm gonna go with one of my favorite tenor players, the late Dewey Redman, and The Struggle Continues on ECM. You know, if you think that, you know, Dewey Redman, you associate him with Ornette Coleman and the avant-garde, you might overlook the fact, or you might not know that he was a great ballad player. Just a beautiful ballad player. That, you know, he had that Texas sound. I love his, you know, ballad playing. It's something that I just, you know, stands out in regards to Dewey Redman's playing for me. So, an album from 1982, Dewey Redman, The Struggle Continues on ECM. This doesn't have that, I guess you could say, classic ECM sound. An album from a different continent. I'm gonna go with something issued by Gearbox Records out of the UK, and it is this Charles Tolliver release, which I can't recall ever having seen in the on the VC Connect. That's Charles Tolliver on trumpet, Buster Williams on bass, Lenny White drums, Jesse Davis alto sax, Keith Brown piano, and Binker Golding on tenor on 2 tracks. You know, this was, except for Golding, this was a group that Tolliver put together as a touring group. So when they went to the studio, they were sharp. This is a very good recording on Gearbox Records. Check it out. Charles Tolliver, Connect. A record that no one seems to notice that you wish to share. I'm gonna go with something from Yusef Lateef. You know, there was that whole hubbub regarding Yusef Lateef's Eastern Sounds, you know, regarding the Craft reissue. It was only 1,000 copies, and it was just impossible for people to get. But Vinyl Me Please did a Yusef Lateef reissue, and it was only 1,000 copies, and, you know, just flew under the radar. And it was this one. It is Yusef Lateef, Before Dawn, the music of Yusef Lateef. This was originally issued on Verve, and it had never been reissued until Vinyl Me Please did their version. It's only 1,000 copies. Yusef Lateef, tenor flute, Curtis Fuller trombone, Hugh Lawson piano, Ernie Farrell bass, Lewis Hayes drums. This is remastered from the original analog tapes by Ryan Smith. It is also on colored vinyl, but my copy was very quiet, and it just seemed to, you know, just go under the radar. Yusef Lateef, Before the Dawn, and a live album. I'm gonna go with something by another vocalist, the late Betty Carter, and this was something that was done in conjunction with Lincoln Center. Betty Carter, The Music Never Stops. Betty Carter, I'm hearing, you don't hear that much about her, but she was an influence on a number of vocalists. And two off the top of my head that I can think of, Cassandra Wilson and Cecile McLaurin Savant. Betty Carter was not only a vocalist, but she was a band leader of the First Order. She sort of took up that mantle, of Blakey and training young musicians. And there are just a number of musicians that are now veterans on the scene that, cut their teeth in Betty Carter's bands. A duo recording. If you can find this, I highly recommend it. Ron Carter, Jim Hall, live at the Village Gate. Now, the music is excellent. They do mostly standards. This was originally recorded on Concord Records. So yeah, I have no real hope of it being immediately reissued because Concord, their catalog is so vast, and there's just stuff that they haven't reissued. They're not gonna get to this. But even this photograph is by the great photographer Roy DeCarava. Two masters in conversation, and that sums up the record. It's a beautiful recording. Show a record you would like to send as VCLT. I'm gonna go with this one here, Marsalis Standard Time. It's Wynton's quartet that was together from the mid to the late 80s. Jeff Tane Watts on drums, Marcus Roberts piano, Robert Leslie Hurst III on drums. And this is a really excellent rendition of standards. The musicians have great freedom to improvise, but while they still maintain that structure of the standards. And all of these renditions are fresh renditions of the standards. This is a highly recommended recording. Wynton Marsalis Standard Time, Volume 1. Show a record from your youth that you finally picked up on vinyl. I'm gonna go with the Dayton funk band Slave and Stone Jam. If you've ever heard the Snoop Dogg record, Gin and Juice, that refrain where they go walking down the street, smoking that Indo, drinking gin and juice, they got the inspiration from that from the Slave song, Watching You, where the refrain is walking down the street, watching ladies go by, watching you. Yeah, that was a big hit back in the day for Slave, maybe their biggest hit, Slave, Stone Jam. A punk band, I'm gonna go with my favorite, Bad Brains Rock for Light, produced by Rick Ocasek, and this is the Punk Note edition, inspired by the Blue Note album covers. Here's another one, the self-titled Bad Brains Punk Note edition, and there's supposed to be one more that's reissued that I pre-ordered. And show a record you got as a present in 2021. I received this, Alice Coltrane's Eternity. I received it from my sister-in-law's husband. He had some records that his parents had, and they had a friend that worked at Warner Brothers, and they would give them promotional copies. So this is a promotional copy. Show a record that you have not given much love lately. Gotta go with this one, Ike Black, Quebec Blue and Sentimental. Yeah, I've got quite a few Quebec recordings. I haven't played them in quite a while. This is Quebec, Grant Green, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones. This is the Music Matters edition. Show a 7-inch. This is Dave Douglas, Joe Lovano. I got this for free. Actually, he sent me 2 copies. It's on colored vinyl. I ordered a bunch of stuff from Dave Douglas's website because he had a big sale around the holidays, and he threw in 2 copies of that free. And the last question, an album that you spent the most money on in 2021, and it's the ubiquitous UHQR Miles Davis Kinda Blue. So that's it for me. Vinyl Tag 2022. See you down the line. Later days.